of the industries, because we know that as elected officials, we are touching upon thousands upon thousands of issues in the city of New York that sometimes we may overlook something of great importance. And that's where your organization comes into play, and that's where your board members, which I want to congratulate and I want to thank them for their service, comes into play, because you can guide us and direct us on what it is that we as elected officials, as city council members, state assembly members, senators, or congressional members can do to best impact change on the legislative level and the budgetary level in the city, state, and federal government, because that is what's going to make sure that those people that we serve and represent are getting the most out of government, and that's going to be beneficial. So I'm actually very honored. You said that you're honored that I came. I'm actually very honored to be here, because this is a learning experience, and I get to meet people, some faces that are very familiar and some new faces, and get to address some of the issues that are facing our city. And George said it's tough times, and we've been reaching out to the philanthropic community, and we know that with the economy being what it is, it's going to get tougher. And that's why this partnership is ever more important, because we need to make sure that in the tough times, we know that when more services are needed, officials, we are touching upon thousands upon thousands of issues in the city of New York that sometimes we may overlook something of great importance. And that's where your organization comes into play, and that's where your board members, which I want to congratulate and I want to thank them for their service, comes into play, because you can guide us and direct us on what it is that we as elected officials, as city council members, state assembly members, senators, or congressional members can do to best impact change on the legislative level and the budgetary level in the city, state, and federal government, because that is what's going to make sure that those people that we serve and represent are getting the most out of government, and that's going to be beneficial. So I'm actually very honored. You said that you're honored that I came. I'm actually very honored to be here, because this is a learning experience, and I get to meet people, some faces that are very familiar and some new faces, and get to address some of the issues that are facing our city.
Give us some guidance as to some initiatives that there might be out there that you could work with your office on.
Some of the initiatives that we've been very active on, one that I've worked very hard on for the past, under the health committee, we've done the infant mortality funding. We have not focused directly on infant obesity, and I'll tell you why. Because with infants, there's more baby formulas fed to to infants, and it's a little bit more difficult, because the type of diet that an infant has is not as broad range as a child or a young adolescent or a teenager, which a teenager can go out there and get McDonald's, Burger King, Pizza Hut, and besides going home and having to get food in the portion control. So what we've focused on is working with, I don't know if you know who Health Corps is, Dr. Oz, with Health Corps, and working with, Columbia Presbyterian and other hospitals to focus on getting these educations inside elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, and how we can get kids more physically involved, how we can get, kids more understanding of the fact that in a McDonald's meal, there's 1,500 calories for one meal, while you're only supposed to have 2,000 calories throughout the day. So that is a huge calorie count. So besides that, we're also working with the Gold Runners Foundation, to get more physical activity inside our schools. So we've been doing that. And last year, not this year, the year before, I ran the New York City Marathon. Not a runner, never ran, anything more than 3 miles before that. And I took up the challenge, and I said, I'm going to lead by example. I'm going to lead with my feet, to make sure that we can raise money for, for our inner city kids and some of the programs that, deal with obesity. So that's some of the stuff that we've been working on. We know that when a soldier comes back from war, and that's something that we do not experience here in the United States. We don't experience that on a daily level. We experienced 9/11, and that was beyond, traumatic and dramatic for us, and, we still haven't healed from that. Emotionally, we still have a lot of people who have post-traumatic stress. I've traveled to Israel, where people say it's so common that it doesn't faze them. It phases us. And, wartime phases our soldiers, and when they come back, it's something that needs to be addressed, and, I definitely agree with you. We know that mental health is something that's, it's a serious issue within our society. I actually chaired the health committee in the city council, and there's a mental health committee, which is chaired by my colleague Oliver Copal. But we do collaborate on various
One of the biggest frustrations, I think, for this organization and for the Bronx Hispanic Chamber and most of the chambers of commerce, when it comes to city hospitals, when you go to the person that's in charge of the MBE program, and you tell me you want him to be part of it, he tells me he doesn't have to be part of it. So you're funding these hospitals, you're as the chair of the Committee of Healthcare, and you're pushing the 129 law. You have been the champion of the 129 law. Whoever doesn't know, the minority business law. A lot of the local hospitals who get city money, they didn't even know about the law. And typically had me educate them. And they don't understand that we're small businesses. We can't afford to be part of their procurement organization like the last event someone said. $10,000, $50,000. We're not big corporations. So how can you help us get more of the city hospitals part of this organization and part of other chambers of commerce? Because you ask them to come down, they don't want to show up. And I got Lincoln Hospital right next to the office of the chamber. They don't even return.
The reason why is that the Health and Hospitals Corporation is a quasi-governmental entity which we have oversight but not direct jurisdiction over them. So we cannot directly dictate to them what it is in their normal procedures. But what we can do is elevate the conversation and make sure that we put pressure on them. I know Frank puts a lot of pressure, I'll tell you that much. He definitely knows how to do that. And we need that. We need people to come to the steps of City Hall. We need people to come to the hearings in the City Council where we do budget hearings in our contract committee, which is chaired by Tish James and who has also been a friend on this issue. We need to make sure that we're not giving people a pass. Because if you give people a pass, or organizations a pass, they're going to take that pass, and they're going to take more than a pass. They're going to become complacent themselves. So the best way we can resolve this is by making sure we put the pressure on them as much as possible. My office has been involved in many conversations on how can we get border diversity, how can we get contracts to be dispersed, how can we make sure we open the doors to opportunity to new businesses, smaller businesses, and medium-sized businesses. This is the type of conversations we're having, and that's why I think that we, as a collaborative, effort, if we have a collaborative effort, we can definitely make, change at the city and state level. And the way we do that is by communicating effectively with not only the Health and Hospitals Corporation, which is a quasi-governmental agency, but also working with the Mayor's Office of Contracts, working with the City Council, working with the Governor's Office, and making sure that their eyes their ears are listening to what exactly we're saying. And the best way to do that is with George, with Frank, with the membership here, and everybody that's involved on a daily basis. So my statement, to you is that we are, at a precipice. We have an opportunity, to really make, changes for a new beginning within the Latino community, not only here in the city but in the state. We have, representation which is that's louder and broader than we've had in a very long time. Now we have to use it. It's not good enough to say that we have, Barack Obama as our president. Great. Now we have to get results. Not good enough to say that we have Governor Patterson, the first African-American governor of the state of New York, as our governor. Great. Now we have to get results. Not good enough to say that Adolfo Carrion is now the director of urban affairs, in the White House. Now we have to get results. We have to utilize who we have. And who we have is great people in great positions that can do great things if you got us. So what I'm asking of you is, now I will leave some of my cards up here, I'll leave it with George and some of them back. Take my card. If you have ideas, if you have opinions on what it is you think should be done in the city level and on the state level, feel free to contact, my office. We deal, as the chair of the health committee, we have oversight over the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene and oversight over the Health and Hospitals Corporation. So we can, be helpful, and we definitely want to be helpful when it comes to budget.